Well, hey everyone. Welcome to a very unusual or unusual stream from me. It's not what you usually get. It's not based on a horror film. I know. I'm going a little rogue. I mean, I'm going more rogue than I usually go. We're not doing a film at all. We're talking about a TV show. And we're talking about a now fairly long-running TV show that I used to be quite fascinated with. Oh, sorry. That I used to be quite fascinated with, and then fell very much out of love with. You might not be a fan of RuPaul's Drag Race, you might not have heard of it, and you don't have to have. We've let this go out tonight because the third season of the UK version of Drag Race has premiered, and we thought it was kind of timely. And yeah, why not? It might annoy all the right people. I've got no idea what my regular audience are going to think of it. Even if you're sitting there screaming, degeneracy, ashes, burn it. There's a useful example in this for you. You're going to find this interesting because there's going to be a trend that we're going to be covering that I think you're going to see everywhere. And it's how the sort of vanguard force for goodness and light and all things righteous ends up becoming the villain and being attacked by the people it, shall we say, by the people it brought with it, basically. It should be interesting. Now, I'm not here just on my own. I do have Wholesome Waifu with me, my drag persona.
Hiya. Yes, queen. Work, mama. Etc.
Very convincing, very convincing. Now, I want to assure you that this is not just some weird Norman Bates-like maneuver. Do not read too much into that chat. Carry on, move on very swiftly. Wholesome Waifu is here. We are in the same room, and we figured with a microphone setup, it's just going to be better if we just share a mic rather than awkwardly sit in separate rooms. So hopefully this works for you. Chat, if you could just give me a confirmation that the audio is okay, that would be really brilliant.
And can you hear me as well? Am I okay, or am I a bit quiet?
Yeah, tell us if you can hear Waifu as well. My God, how awkward would that bit be if they couldn't hear you at all?
I mean, dear. It would sort of be quite accurate for how you live most of your life. So I don't know what I'm saying there. I'm not feeling very well today.
Yeah, Waifu is being an absolute trooper. She's not actually entirely above the weather.
No.
But she's soldiering on. We're going to do our best. All right. Thanks, James. Thank you. Oh, hey, John Gars. Good to see you, man. Okay, good. We will get on with the material. Now, I
would like to apologise in advance for everything you're about to witness.
Yeah, this is going to be some proper ashes stuff here. This is going to be very ashes.
Oh, James, thank you. I am best sidekick.
Yes. Oh, I'd like to see a bit of love for Wholesome Waifu in the chat. That's fantastic. All right, we're going to get on with the material because there's quite a lot to cover. And there's so much we could do that it's a little unclear. So we've divided it up into phases. Hey, British Knight, good to see you. And I think it should be nice and clear if we just break it down into phases for you to show how this show went so wrong and got so utterly subverted. So phase one is what I would call the golden years, when the show kicked off in, it was about, what,
2009, I think.
I am terrified that it was back in 2009. That is awful.
It's almost as bad as, what was it, Hey Ya being 18 years old this year.
It's, yeah, le temps de tweetu. It's awful. So back when it started, RuPaul kind of had its golden years in phase one. So that's when the show just starts. It is a very different creature to what it was now. It was incredibly low budget. And ramshackle, and kind of, it looked pretty bad, but that was great because drag is, especially in the British tradition, it is ramshackle. It's the kind of thing that you see above a pub in a function room. seedy. Yes, it's always got a kind of seedy glory to it, you know. And especially British drag queens, they are not typically glamorous. They're a lot more in the panto dame tradition. Okay, if that is confusing Americans, I'm very sorry, but do some Googling. You're going to love it. Panto dames.
It's a whole trip.
And that, of course, has its own history, but we are not going back into folklore. We're talking about the ramshackle, early, low-budget days of RuPaul's Drag Race. And it is essentially a reality show, a contest, to see who will be America's next drag superstar.
Yes! I'm going to do that intermittently, guys. I do apologize in advance.
Oh, we should have the, oh my God, AOC clip. We should have that. Harrian played it about 1 million times. It's burned into my mind now. So, they were competing. It started off with just 6 contestants, and they were competing to be America's next drag superstar. That's a kind of a weird concept, isn't it? That's pretty nebulous. And the whole idea was, yes, it was, because it was originally very much a satire. It was a satire specifically of a show called America's Next Top Model, which I believe it has now quite heartily outlived, but I could be wrong. I'm a tad disconnected from mainstream culture, as you may be aware. And America's Next Top Model was played very straight. It was hosted by Tyra Banks, and it had all the drama of a kind of trashy reality show. RuPaul's Drag Race was satirizing this mercilessly by having the contestants be, blokes. So the contrast between their regular mode and the drag mode was much more extreme. It had regular roasting of Tyra Banks. It had regular over-the-top shilling and absolute sensationalism. So it just looks like an insane version of America's Next Top Model. Brilliant satire of sellout commercialism, overhyping, stuff like openly showing the contestants being given lots of alcohol, which is one of those behind-the-scenes secrets of the reality shows, is get the contestants a bit drunk so they'll be a bit more outrageous. And RuPaul's Drag Race just made this absolutely blatant that that's what they were doing. It also had that satirical element of the fact that these contestants are often, they're not going for high glamour. They were dressing trashily. They were on a really low budget, right? So one of the early things was like a $1 challenge where they went into just a charity shop and had to make an outfit out of that. It was deliberately trashy, okay? So you're getting this idea, I hope, of it's quite a fun, creative, weird satire.
It was enjoyable, and it was also very niche. It was on a very small TV network. Not many people knew about it. It felt quite knowing, quite like a bit of a nod and a wink at the people who would know, rather than, the mainstream audience kind of thing.
John, I'm not sure. I think Rue's got a bit of a mix. I don't know really.
Or a trans-dimensional alien from beyond the moon is also.
Oh yeah, James has got the best actor. Worry, Wes, I did not expect to see you here, mate. I hope you enjoy it. There's going to be an interesting one for you. We've got notes we're skipping back and forth between, so if we're a bit slow to respond to chat, do be patient. So yeah, it's very satirical, it's low budget, which is basically what drag is. It's very niche, it's very low key. It is not meant to be a mass audience thing. And the other thing it tended to do was it would sort of sneak in sort of LGBT history in quite a creative way. I can try and show you a clip actually. Which one? Is it that one?
Yes, it's that one.
Okay, I'm going to show you a clip and we'll hopefully make this work. So this is how they would do a challenge, and they'd get people in to sort of talk about an aspect of history. I realize some of my chat will have some feelings about it. I think it's this one. I want to share the audio. How are we doing, guys? Is that going okay? No, I need to make it play, don't I?
Have you ever done drag before?
I'm going to
Never.
have to
Have you
listen
ever
to this
worn
myself.
heels before?
Never.
Have you ever pranced on a runway in a cutout spandex bodysuit, shellacked in bronzer and glitter, wearing fake boobs, under an inch of makeup, in about 6 weeks with your man?
I mean, that guy is annoying.
No.
Do you have any peanut butter?
But before you can say,
I'm going to stop it there because I don't know how much tolerance you've got, guys. I'm not going to expose you to sort of long sections of RuPaul's Drag Race, except that this is a niche thing. Okay, this is clearly not meant to appeal to a great number of people, and I know this won't be the thing for a lot of you. But bear with us. So they're sneaking in a bit of history. So for a very dedicated audience, this is quite the specialized show.
And I'd like to chip in and just get a bit, I suppose, personal, because Chloe and I started watching it when we were sort of quite newly together. I was quite newly out. And the early seasons did, for me, feel like a really nice way of sort of seeing, I don't know, some of the history of people who had gone through some genuinely quite rubbish times as the gays. I think there's a lot of stuff in that sort of history that is worth acknowledging. And so actually seeing it kind of, I'm going to sound like such an SJW, I do apologize. Seeing it represented on screen just actually did mean something to me. It felt like, a recognition of some of the sort of aspects of, sort of queer life. It was unusual at that point, and it was, done sort of by the gays for the gays, and it felt very authentic, which, as you'll hopefully see throughout the rest of this evening, is not where it is now.
Yeah, and I'd go with that, and I'd say there's something interesting about the fact that it was done in its own sort of small area. It's not, I mean, this probably sounds quite weird because this is only about 10 years ago, but it's very different to just the way there will be a gay character in every show who will talk about being gay endlessly, okay? That kind of thing that you get in that you see in basically every Netflix show now, that we kind of joke about it. I mean, we are not the straightest couple in the world here, and it gets a bit exhausting. You're sort of,
oh look, it's another lesbian.
If
you're lucky, it's a lesbian. If you're not lucky, it's someone of an unspecific gender identity who changes with the phases of the moon.
It's just, is this what we're meant to be? Is this us? Is okay, that's fun.
Yeah,
so
for Fear Street, where lesbians are abusive, psychotic, and murderous. Yay!
So they got that right.
Yeah, to be fair. Statistically accurate.
I've got no idea what people are going to think of this stream. I hope you find it interesting, guys. So basically, we reckon the first 5 or 6 seasons was probably the golden age, where it was quite original. It was shaking things up. It was it was like a goth club. It was a club for goths where goths went to be gothy and listen to goth music. It was that, but really gay,
with sequins. And it was, I think, it's kind of epitomized the sort of end of the era in a way. The first 3 seasons, they would, they're announcing America's next drag superstar. And it's supposedly this sort of big thing. And the finale was just them in the studio, and Ru would hand this fairly tatty looking crown and scepter to the winner and say, "Now prance, my queen, prance." And the bloke would walk awkwardly sort of up and down the runway, kind of jiggling a bit, as if it was this big thing. And then we got to season 4, which was the first season in which it was popular enough, and it was growing in popularity, that they were able to have a kind of a live show for the finale. It was very it was still quite small. You could sort of see, and you can sort of see as the show's grown in popularity, the size of the theatres they hire out gets even bigger. But that was the sort of first show where they had a live finale, but it was still this kind of awkward weirdness. And the winner of that show was truly a performer quite like no other, really. A drag queen called Sharon Needles, who remains one of my favourites. But yeah, it was sort of at that point that once it started getting a bit more commercialised and sort of having that sort of big grand theatre thing, it stopped being the thing it stopped being a satire and started becoming the thing it was mocking.
Yeah, and that's all good, but it's about this time. So when you've had the Sharon Needles victory, which is sort of already, you get a feel for the sort of grimy thing that someone's name is Sharon Needles. If you're getting the pun there, good on you. You get Jinx Monsoon, who won in season 5, who was sort of openly making sort of identity politics jokes. So she comes in and she says she's New York's premier Jewish narcoleptic drag queen. And you can see the joke there is about these hyper-specific identities and priming yourself and based on that. That's season 5. Season 6, you have Bianca Del Rio, and Bianca Del Rio makes some pretty darn spicy jokes.
Oh, yeah.
And she is, she's fiery, she's feisty, she doesn't care for anyone's feelings, she mocks people, she tells it very straight. She is not touchy-feely.
Oh gosh, no.
But she's got a kind side, but she does not suffer fools gladly. We went and saw her live and she slapped a MAGA cap on.
She is...
get absolute... I mean, the crowd was not a fan of that.
Oh gosh, no.
And that's why she was brilliant. She had told a whole load of the stuff they expected to hear. And then she went brutal on the crowd to upset them.
And she does that a lot. I mean, one of the things that happened later on that we may or may not mention is YouTube's not a fan of the R word, is it?
Do we need a...
Oh, struggle snuggle. There we go.
Struggle snuggle. Let's say that. Let's go with that.
I'm taking this on a brief detour, but Bianca basically, I think, is... The fans don't really know what to do with her anymore. She makes jokes about them to them. And so, for example, in season 10, a rather adorable little twink who goes by the stage name Blair St. Clair opened up about a very brutal experience of a struggle snuggle.
I think it's even worse if we're trying to be serious and we say struggle snuggle.
I know, but that thing had happened. And Bianca Del Rio then did a series of jokes about it because that's the kind of comic they call it. What do they call it in insult comic or something?
Yeah. She's an insult queen.
Her whole shtick is
a roast queen.
Yeah, her whole shtick is about just picking people apart, and she does it brilliantly. But the fans were kind of tearing her apart. There we go, James. Yes, I know. I realised as I said it
You've got it, mate.
I was like, there are so many words that begin with R that I could be referring to. That's the kind of person she is. So she's a brilliant comic, a fantastic comedian in her own right, and even better when she does it in garish makeup. So
Wes, you are absolutely on the money. This is what drag is. It is drag is brutal, it's crude, it's nasty. It is basically, it's gay men making jokes for gay men of the most, how can I say?
Vile.
It's deliberately vile. It's deliberately saucy. It is deliberately, it's brutal. It's graphic. It is there to shock you.
It's deliberately misogynistic and joyfully so.
It's not genteel. And there is an American style which is more pageanty. So it is actually more based on a fashion show.
I'm sure that
gosh darn it.
Sorry,
it's American, so it doesn't count, frankly.
Sorry, yes. I'm sure that Proper Horror Show's audience will be huge fans of the BBC/American show Pose, which features the kind of ballroom scene of American drag, which is all about, category is whatever. You won't have seen it. Lucky you. Thankfully, I haven't either. It's obnoxious.
If we do too much drag lingo and it doesn't stick with you, if you get confused, just ask, we'll try and cover it. Speaking of drag lingo, I forgot, we're on YouTube. We have a thing to do, guys. You gotta work that subscribe button and
yes, mama.
And just grab that like button and give it a right meaty tuck.
Yes.
Right, duct tape that like button back so it doesn't come out of place.
As I said earlier to Proper Horror Show, you've got to take that like button, shove it up your inguinal canal, pull the subscribe button, pull it right back between your thighs, and then pull on your tight tucking pants.
There we go. That's channel promotion.
And channel something else. Pun there.
Oh dear. Right, we're going to move on. Because that was vile. Okay. But we're at the end of phase 1 now, guys. That was the glory years of it. I hope you enjoyed them. It was a niche show for a niche audience. This is when it all went wrong.
And this is when I get to take over and talk more, because you'll love that.
Go for it. I've called it Trennschluss, which is a pun that I hope you enjoy.
So yes, one of the things that was quite joyful about the early seasons was, as we said, that kind of not at all serious, self-mocking, absolutely taking the Michael. And one of the common segments was at the start of every show when Ru was announcing what that week's challenge was, there'd be a kind of klaxon, and then a sort of garish voice would say, "You've got she-mail."
Good times. Good times.
And then in season 6, by this point in the series, a couple of previous contestants had been on the show and then come out as trans women, and were making names for themselves as trans women on the internet. So then what ended up happening was they started objecting to, "You've got she-mail," but were then kind of mainly being kind of mocked or disregarded. And then in season 6,
yeah, they kind of laughed it off, didn't
they?
They
brushed it off. They're like, it's a joke, don't take yourselves too seriously, because that's the era we used to live in. And then for the mini challenge in one episode, they did something called she-mail or female. Chloe hasn't seen this segment. I'm going to do a bit of context. This resulted in the show basically massively changing, being very po-faced, taking away the "you've got she-mail," talking a lot more about kind of trans stuff. And it was the kind of the crack through which a lot of the identity politics got in and destroyed the show, I would say. It was, huge furore on Twitter. Everyone was outraged at how transphobic it was. Trans women have to live with so much difficulty. 41% of them try to kill themselves. So much transphobia. They get beaten up if they so much as look out of a window. Just life is awful. How can you possibly mock them and also imply that they're not biological women? Implying that there's any difference between cis women and trans women is transphobic by its very nature. This is awful. So the other thing that happened was basically, Ru and the PR team managed to yeet every single version of this segment from the internet. It's taken out of every broadcast version of the show. You can't find it. And I managed to find someone had clearly pirated it and saved it for posterity. Chloe hasn't seen this, but as you'll hopefully have got the gist, it sounds like it's absolutely awful. I was genuinely actually expecting to be somewhat shocked by it. Chloe's going to live react.
Oh God, this is like a professional YouTube, you guys. All right, I genuinely have not seen this. This is cinema mode. All right, let's go for this.
Everyone, enjoy. You'll need to put your headphones on.
I will need my headphones. Okay,
it's 2 minutes. You can stop it once you get the idea. But
for today's mini challenge,
that is Bianca Del Rio being absolutely fabulous and scathing. Yeah, okay, that was
how.
Well, obviously, I am shook to the core, and the only thing I can say is, that's it. Is that it? Is that
that nearly got RuPaul cancelled back in 2014?
Yeah, about 2014. So this. I think the attacks are primarily led by a contestant from, I want to say, season 3.
Season 3.
Season 3, Carmen Carrera, who transitioned after the show. Okay,
extremely successfully, to be fair.
Yeah,
voice game unclockable.
Yeah, we might have a clip of her later that you can see. So the attack has been going. You can't say, you've got to take out the "you've got she-mail" segment. You can't do it. You can't do this game show. And this is when they bent the knee, right?
I'd like to go back to one of the comments I saw. I think it was Wes made.
Oh yeah.
Which is absolutely yes. True.
Yeah, this is very important.
Trans people generally have nothing to do with drag queens. There are some, and certainly in, say, the sort of 70s, 80s, 90s, when being gay was a difficult thing, let alone being trans, there were a number of people who essentially discovered their trans identity through being drag queens. And there was a bit of overlap. But being a drag queen is not the same as being a trans woman.
And that was the message that was hammered constantly. Like, I think you guys will have seen this. All the education efforts, drag isn't trans women different, etc. I'm sure you have seen that everywhere. You've got to remember that, because that is now heresy.
Yes.
Because the big push came to be once Ru had bent the knee on this game show, had apologized, had removed the female or she-male segment. Why did we, we censored the R word, and now we've just been saying she-male about a dozen times.
Sorry, I don't know why I yelled that. I do apologize.
Okay, well, you know what? It's fine. We'll it's fine. So this guys, this is when RuPaul's Drag Race bent the knee the first time. Now, what do you think, guys? Do you think that was the end of it? They bent the knee, they apologized. Did everyone shake hands and agree to just hug it out over a nice ice-cold Fresca? What do you reckon? I don't know what the latency is on the chat. I want to see if people come through and be like, yeah.
Come
yeah,
through! Sorry.
Oh, God. We stopped watching a while ago, and you still got the showisms, Well, guys, I know chat's a bit slow, but that didn't do it. Apologizing didn't stop it. Heck no, because the next pressure, what was the immediate next bit of pressure that was put on the show? It was, well, Ru, why haven't you had a trans contestant? Oh.
An out trans contestant,
because you've had some who've come out afterwards. Can we have a trans woman on RuPaul's Drag Race? Given that those are totally separate things. Do you want to cover that?
Yeah, I think it makes for an interesting time. So there was sort of increasing pressure, lots of tension, lots and lots of people sort of going, well, it's about time that Ru had a trans woman because Ru's so transphobic. And it took quite a long time. We went from sort of season 5 through to season 9 when Ru eventually bent the other knee. Kind of in the meantime, the show was growing in popularity. It was something that I started hearing people talk about at work, for example. Whereas before it was a kind of thing that you'd mention and people would give you a blank look. And it sort of all got sort of more and more political until eventually, in this big historical moment in season 9, the show had its first contestant who was out as a transsexual woman from the start. And she was called Peppermint. And
she got kind of angry about this. I guess you could say peppermint schnapps. Okay. All right.
I'm leaving.
You guys can't see, but Wholesome Waifu was not happy with that at all. All right.
So yes,
shall we get some peppermint on?
So one of the big things with the show is, the difference between, you see all the blokes out of drag for most of the contest. They're just sort of getting ready, running around, swearing at sewing machines, etc., etc. And then they get into drag, and the kind of slogan of the show, certainly at first, was "Gentlemen, start your engines, and may the best woman win," which is quite a nice pun.
People are not liking that pun at all. Oh dear.
I mean, you're going to leave. I'm going to divorce her. So yes, you'd imagine that with a woman on the show, a trans woman, it would be quite difficult. That sort of that transformation wouldn't be quite so obvious. Well, thankfully, Peppermint is here to save the day, because this is what she looked like out of drag.
Now, chat, behave.
Behave.
I know you're going to be on good behavior, guys. I know, but
I don't want to say her identity isn't valid.
Hold on. Okay.
Sorry.
Let's not be overly snarky. Okay. Let's actually. We're going to take this one quite straight-faced, guys. So bear with us here.
It's difficult for a pair of lesbians. Ha 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 ha.
Chat, behave, be good. So let's just sort of chat. Don't make me crack up. So we're going to be straight-faced about this. Why can't you have a trans woman as a contestant on Drag Race? Well, There are so many reasons. It is hard to know where to start, but we'll go from the very basics, which is that drag is men. It is gay men dressing as women. And you might say, oh, well, there might be some bi men, there might be some straight men doing it. Fine, whatever. We're not gonna sacrifice everything for the sake of the grey zone here. We're going to stick with it's gay men dressing up as women, okay? So that means that instantly should do the job, because we've been telling people for decades and decades now, trans women aren't drag queens. That's completely separate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got issues like the fact that the show is very much centered around the fact that these are gay men. You're calling them men. You're saying, gentlemen, start your engines. May the best woman win. It is automatically requiring that you hold in your mind that all the contestants are men dressing up as women. When you have a trans woman contestant, you have an instant problem. Because in that case, just to really spell this out for you, I know you guys get this, and some people might not be as familiar with, but so I'm just going to spell it out. You have to then say that this is a woman dressing as a woman. Now, how is a woman dressing as a woman drag? You are finding yourself stepping on an intersectional landmine, and whichever way you step here, you're in trouble.
To be fair, it's going to get a lot more interesting in about 40 minutes.
This is meaning that you're having to look at Peppermint and say you're absolutely a total valid woman, and this transformation you've done is completely amazing. It's like you can't.
It's amazing, but it's also exactly who you are, and you've always been a woman, even when you're not dressed as a woman.
Like I am genuinely not trying to be snarky here. I'm trying to lay out sensitively what the problem is. I will get snarky later, but this is the issue of you're having to hold in your mind that Peppermint is a woman, and you're meant to see her as a woman, and then she has to transform into. You have to not be aware of the transformation, which is the entire point of drag.
It's a very weird mental game.
It's a very difficult mental game, because how is there drag without there being a transformation? And furthermore, this transformation does not work at all if you do not have an idea of the male, sorry, I'll go with the masculine and the feminine archetypes, right? So one of the defenses, and RuPaul actually eventually went to this, he cucked out and said, well, drag isn't for gay men anymore. It's more of a queer act of resistance.
It's punk rock.
Now, bear in mind, this is after he'd fought this issue and lost for years. But the defense is it's a queer act of resistance to patriarchy and standards. But drag does not work at all if there is not a masculine and a feminine to subvert. If a skirt and a nice pair of bobbins isn't feminine, then you are not doing drag as a masculine person by donning them. It just does not work. It's a mind screw. You cannot make people hold this opinion. James De Silva, absolutely, 1984. Yeah, this is what Orwell would call black-white, where you're able to hold two contradictory ideas, this is black and this is white, at the same time.
I mean, if you want, I have found a clip of Peppermint talking about sort of life before. It's not that one. That's
Which one do you want?
Next one, that one.
Oh gosh, is it this one?
Yes.
Where do you want me to play this from?
From where I've got it to. Sorry.
All right, guys. We're gonna give you a clip here. We're gonna give you a treat.
And to be fair, this is a bit later than when Peppermint was appearing in season 9.
Peppermint's actually done this. Like, I'm really not trying to have a go at Peppermint here, but you're coming in when you've done absolutely nothing. But I want you to bear this in mind, how difficult this is already. because at this point the problem is largely conceptual and just rude, because you're having to be like, oh, well, yeah, it works for you, Peppermint. You've not done anything. You're still basically a dude here. So there's no way to talk about this. This isn't, like I say, it's an intellectual landmine.
The challenge for me is I can't hear the clip once Chloe starts playing it, and I can't remember when she says the absolute goldmine. But
all right, we're gonna play, and hopefully this will work. But this issue gets worse later on. Okay.
On with the continuation of the quote. So the interviewer asked, how can a transgender woman be a drag queen? To which RuPaul responded, it's an interesting area. Peppermint didn't get breast implants until after she left our show. She was identifying as a woman, but she hadn't really transitioned.
Based.
Is this true?
Factually, it's not true. I mean, look, it's an opinion. I take it as an opinion, so yes, it's true that is RuPaul's opinion, I think. And it's true that I have not yet had breast implants.
What?
But, you know, it troubles me for a few reasons. I think it's important that we focus on more than just surgeries when we talk about trans bodies. And when we get in...
You guys are now firmly in the waffle zone. I hope you appreciate this. There will be a point coming at some future moment, I'm sure. Let's see.
To the habit of focusing on surgeries, we do everyone a disservice. And we also don't get a chance to focus on some of the more important stories that are going on, not to mention some of the instances of violence and murder that are happening in the trans community. When we just focus on surgeries, we really kind of boil down the entire conversation to medical choices. And a lot of times,
you can stop when you
I
get
think
bored, to be fair.
What people fail to realize is that for many trans folk, surgery is not always an option. It's not always a desire, and it's not always an option.
I'm not really hearing a point from her. So, what was the thing that she said that you really wanted?
I don't know if you got to it when she said it, but the bloke in yellow asks her, says, well, Ru said that you hadn't really transitioned before you started on the show. And she says, well, factually, that's not true, because I was always a woman.
Yeah, no, she got that, and then there was a hell of a lot of waffling. Hey, Charlie Chieftain, I'm glad to see you. This is going to be one of the weirder streams you drop in, but it's good to see you, friend. Boo Jammy, you have no idea how prophetic that is. That is a very good point to make, and I want everyone on this stream to bear that in mind. Boo, are you secretly a fan of the show? Have you been sneaking ahead? I think you might have been.
So yeah, essentially what I wanted to do there with Peppermint was I agree. I don't entirely want to mock her for what was presumably a very difficult time in her life. I'm not laughing at her because she was a bloke on the show and was very early in her transition. I'm laughing at her because she was double thinking idiot, to put it bluntly.
Well, you see that there just wasn't there wasn't any coherence there. It was, so RuPaul said this thing, and she's like, well, yeah, that's true, and that is very true. But have you considered all these other things that aren't relevant to the question? It's like, she just starts bringing in a whole load of completely unrelated. Anyway, the whole point of this is so that this stream doesn't go on forever. RuPaul's been getting attacked on the line of identity politics, especially the trans issue. Can there be a trans queen? And eventually, at this point, RuPaul has caved. In season 9, you have a trans queen with all the ideological problems that comes from it, all the stuff you have to work around about how this basically does not make any sense, and people are kind of on a tightrope, and you have to change your entire conception of the sport. Sorry. Sorry. I mean, I said sport because I'm just like, this is how it's gone for other things. I told you this is a pattern, as it has happened in other cultures. It has happened in sport, in the the Olympics row at the moment. this you separate off, so you have a women's area, and then here comes this other issue. So you've been progressive, and then you find out you're actually behind the times. Well, here's an example of it on RuPaul's Drag Race. I've kind of rambled there a bit. To bring it back, basically, RuPaul bends the knee, you get a trans contestant. This is the end of phase 2.
RuPaul is now down on both knees.
In an entirely unfamiliar situation, I am sure. We enter phase 3 after this moment of absolute surrender. Can everyone hear me still?
Did you just pull the mic out?
Guys, can you still hear me?
Madam?
I just want to check that everyone is hearing okay. Oh. Beep, 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 beep. No, apparently we are fine. It's just, we took that off and it wasn't showing. It's fine. This does happen. Sorry, I'm going to... Okay.
Yes, lots of people saying we can.
Sorry, guys, you're going to have about 30 seconds of us panicking. All right, sorry.
It looked like she'd pulled the wire out of the computer.
I was being daft and I knocked it. All right. All right, go right. Don't... You can type boomer in the chat if you want. It's fine. I'll let you off. Okay. All right. End of phase 2. Der Trennschluss has happened and RuPaul has lost and completely surrendered. So, what do we think the result of surrendering completely is? Totally surrendered on the trans issue? Well, not totally surrendered, but surrendered on the trans issue. So, what do we think happened next? Phase 3. Oh gosh. Now, phase 3 is basically season 10 through to, when would you say?
Season 10 through to about season 12. The decline happened quicker from this point.
Yeah, this we have a massive increase in
Charlie
pace
Chieftain,
here.
you have no idea. That's a line from a song that
Dun,
Madam's
dun,
been...
dun, 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 dun. Yep.
She's been listening to it on repeat for the last 6 days.
Yeah. I wish I could turn back time to season 5.
Get me out of here.
Okay. So, season 10. Now, I want to point out, like, there was political pressure for other identities earlier. You know, there was lots of talk of...
Why haven't we had a large queen win? Why haven't we had a fat girl win? Why are most of the contestants on your show black men, but you're still somehow really racist because a lot of them win, but not always?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to attack RuPaul's Drag Race on the race issue because RuPaul is a gay black man. It's a bit of a non-starter, and frankly, most of the winners early on were also black and also tend to be in the pageant queen mode. So that is more of the very glamorous versus the, say, you know, the more weirder artsy gothic queens or the comedy queens. So sort of Bibi Zahara Benet, who won season 1, and Tyra, who phoned in bomb threats.
Yeah.
That's a whole other story.
One of the early winners then went on to phone in bomb threats on RuPaul's Drag Con, because there are now drag conventions. This is one of the things I wanted to talk about in phase 3 and kind of more in phase 4 is how hugely overpopular the show is, I would argue. So when we started off, we were talking about how it was kind of this like enjoyingly seedy, niche, slightly dirty guilty pleasure. That sounds way worse than I intended it to. It was sort of an extension of drag bars. It was something you'd be looking for a gay bar that was sort of down an alley round a corner and you were pretty sure you were going to get mugged on the way out.
It also moved to Netflix after 5 seasons or something. It got transferred over to Netflix.
5 or 6, yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was, but initially when it started out, it was this kind of like, literally a guilty pleasure. It was something you didn't really talk about except with sort of other gay people, and most of them probably wouldn't have heard of it. And then it becomes, transfers to Netflix, gets a lot of funding, gets put on the kind of prime time slot. And suddenly, loads of people are obsessed with it. It was something, my workplace, we would have sweepstakes for the Grand National, for the Euros. Is that the football thing?
Yeah, the Euros,
and then also-
Eurovision, of course.
We wouldn't have a sweepstake for Eurovision at work.
Really?
But one year
Get on my level, you pleb.
from about 2 or 3 years ago, we started having, not hugely popular, but we started having sweepstakes for each successive series of Drag Race.
Yeah, you sort of see when they moved to Netflix from, was it Logo? It was a small network. One of the things you saw was the prize money shot up. They went from 5,000, I think,
Yeah,
to 25,000.
Yeah, I think it started at like 10,000, then went to 25,000, and then rapidly went up to the winner gets 100,000, and each individual episode's winner gets $10,000. $10,000.
Oh,
Sorry.
did anyone else hear dollar?
Dollar.
One of the best things about the show is you do pick up weird language from it, which I kind of love. But yeah, the audience changes. It's no longer a real niche thing. You've got sort of, how can I say, what's a nice way of saying wine moms? Wine aunts.
You get a lot of wine aunts. It's sort of, it becomes a thing that loads of, I'm going to sound SJW again, loads of straight women are into.
Straight, liberal women in their 30s.
White feminists.
Oh gosh, terrible. Get a box of rosé and watch Drag Race with the girls. This has an impact on it.
There's a clip I'd like to show you.
Which one do you want?
It's
oh
that
no.
one.
It's this one.
So this is kind of on base. This is about the impact of.
Okay.
It'll demonstrate the kind of phenomenon we're talking about.
Oh god.
It's only a few seconds. You can cope. You can cope.
I know what clip this is. Okay, guys, brace yourself. This is going to be bigger than the third impact. Tumbling down, tumbling down, tumbling down.
Oh, everybody just fucking be cool. Hey everyone. Wait, Gabe? It's Natalie, actually. That is so cool. Yes, queen. Go off, girl boss. Pussy hat slay. Hey, Natalie. Hey,
This show, it really jumped out the
No,
window.
too demonic. Too demonic for me. I've had enough. It's no. Ugh. All right.
Yeah, it's Comme ça se tort. I was trying to remember as well.
Yeah. So that is a spin-off show from Drag Race called, you say it. Thank you. Ugh. And they'll never do that again. Ugh. That's literally the name of
subscribe button.
Oh, disgusting. So that is, in fact, it's a spin-off with two queens from the show, Trixie and Katya, who we have, we had chickens named after. Fun fact. Actually, all of our chickens are named after drag queens from the show.
And I infinitely prefer the chickens to the drag queens.
So, you've got that. We're showing that because that is then drag race memes. Work, slay mama, slay that pussy, serve that fish mama.
Yes, queen.
Yeah, that's feeding through directly into a mainstream cartoon called Big Mouth. You're seeing how this very niche thing is leaking out.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's not just like that cartoon is kind of a response to a phenomenon of people using that kind of language that was very, very niche into kind of popular culture, essentially. Normal straight culture.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of super over popular.
And the other thing that's happening at this time, so as well as the gaining in scale, gaining in popularity, going absolutely everywhere, the identity politics does not stop. Now, as we said, you can't really attack it on the race card easily because of, it's RuPaul. You can't go for it. And most of the winners were black. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, they did, of course, they did attack it on that ground because, come on, you got to.
Why wouldn't
But they just had to take a while to find the right vector. Weirdly, one of the big fights was, would they have a fat queen? And yeah, that's the ongoing battle because they had a large number of very, very obese contestants. So we're talking some of whom were very popular, by the way. Latrice Royale, a bit of a favorite.
We also have a chicken named after Latrice. She's ironically the skinniest chicken we have.
She's a very she's a very neurotic hen.
Neurotic chicken.
And then you've got sort of, she was in quite early, but the pressure really built on this. So by the time you got sort of Darian Lake and who was the other one around? Ginger Minge.
Ginger Minge.
The pressure's building. Hey, why hasn't there been a fat winner?
To be fair, I want to have a chicken called Ginger Minge just to watch the vet say, "Hi, is Ginger Minge there?"
Oh no,
I won't do it because I have standards. But
yeah, okay. So the pressure is building. Okay, and this is something very familiar. Hey, you've got this contest to see who's the best, but hey, why hasn't a person of this type won? Are you prejudiced? You know, this is a vector of attack that you just know is going to come. It's you know, I know this is a contest, but you know, the results still have to be the way we want. Now, again, I'm not trying to be snarky here, but there are issues if you have a very glamour-based, costume fashion-based contest, and if you have a very athletic dancing based contest, you're going to have problems in that if you are morbidly obese, which many of these queens were. Now, a lot of them were amazing on the comedy side. I thought Darian Lake, Latrice Royale,
Ginger Minge
also, yeah, very funny, but they had obvious limitations, okay?
To the point that Eureka O'Hara, who also happened to be completely obnoxious, actually put her knee out in a dance challenge and was sent home the following week because the doctor said she couldn't walk on it. See if you can find a picture.
I'm going to actually get you a Eureka O'Hara.
She is... I mean, the thing is, Chloe last saw her 3 or 4 years ago when she was previously on the show. She is... I would say probably put on about an extra half of her body weight since then.
Which one do you want?
Oh, God, where to start?
Do you want that one?
Yeah. I mean, no.
Yes, you do. All right, you're getting that.
Also, I think Eureka now identifies as non-binary, which, to be fair...
It's just a career move at this point, isn't it?
You also, to be honest, can't really tell what that is. Yes, I'm horribly fatphobic.
Careful.
Sorry, family-friendly stream.
Family-friendly stream.
Not
like this isn't meant to have a go, right? So you've got queens that like Latrice Royale, Ginger Minge, Darian Lake, very funny, but obviously dancing was not their strong point. With that size, your fashion options are limited in what you could do. Now, with the later ones that you get, so especially Eureka O'Hara, who put her knee out dancing, and the fabulous
Silky Nutmeg Ganache.
Silky Nutmeg Ganache, a just amazingly angry contestant. Basically, the pressure to give them a win was so intense that, you know, Eureka injures herself out, which you would think is like, yeah, a kind of sign that she's not going to win. They bring her back next season. Silky could not do dance moves because of her size. So they simplified the dance moves. And then, like, you literally see her in the training being given the simplified moves, being told, telling the choreographer, I can't do that, you know, I'm not going to be able to get up. And they adjust it. And then the judges actually tell you, you know, they literally told you after you've seen it for yourself in the training footage, what's so good, Silky, is just that you didn't need anyone to go easy on you. So, yes, she did. We saw it. You showed us it. You edit this show.
One of my favourite bits of the Silky is in the sort of... So every season of RuPaul finishes with the final 4 winners doing a sort of remixed performance of one of Ru's songs, because he is a master of self-promotion. And in the middle of the final song, the season that Silky first appeared in, you know, there's this big energetic dance routine. A couple of the final 4 are also professional dancers. So it's really, really kind of high quality dance performance. And then Silky in the middle, kind of not really doing anything, just kind of swaying from side to side, and then sort of suddenly yells in the middle, big girls, you can do it too. You ain't tired yet. And you can see that she is out of breath, not doing any of the dance moves and just trying to keep breathing.
She was actually absolutely exhausted. So basically, this was a long time to say, despite the obvious reasons why you probably won't have a morbidly obese winner. There was pressure to have one, and they pushed it and pushed it. Now, the other angle was that, the the identity politics was very much brought to the fore as the show got more and more political. And there are going to be two avenues we'll talk about here. One was that the contestants themselves just started really bringing the politics in. So this is just something they'd start talking about in the head-to-heads. It would be something that they'd just clearly be prompted to talk about in the workroom, and they would. But you also started getting some queens in whose whole thing was the politics. The prime example of which was the vixen. This is the kind of thing that was clearly done to sort of how can I say, it was done to sort of try and appease, I believe. It didn't work. It didn't work at all. Do you have the vixen?
I don't. You've also just closed a window for something else I wanted to show later.
Ah, no. What did I do?
It was that top one that you've just closed.
That one?
Yep.
All right.
You don't need to show it yet.
I won't show it yet. Okay. All right. Well, we don't have the clip of the vixen. Basically, the vixen came in, made big political rants constantly, picked fights with all the other contestants. I mean, we're talking full-on "we was kangs" stuff. Basically, it was intense.
Very aggressive. Random accusations of racism.
Why isn't this light entertainment drag show doing more to highlight violence in communities?
I mean, since appearing on the show, she's kind of rejected a lot of the opportunities to kind of continue being part of the franchise, which to some extent more power to her elbow. But she also routinely attacks other Black performers on the show, often those who've been more successful than her, because they're not, quote, doing enough for the Black community, when those performers themselves do very little else except talk about Black issues and the importance of, BLM, etc. But somehow, because they're not doing it in the way she wants, they are somehow also racist. It's a fascinating amount of doublethink.
It culminates in the vixen storming off the reunion show after having a big political rant and basically calling her a racist. And Ru has to make this big speech to try and save the day to say, hang on, white people hate me because I'm Black, and I had Black people hate me because I'm gay, and I had gay people hate me because I'm femme. And it's like, that's a really fun world.
Really working hard to make yourself a victim there.
Yeah, I mean, you're also a millionaire, so I don't know, man. I think you managed.
I think it worked out okay.
So this is what, season 12 or something? Season 11?
Season 10 was the vixen.
Oh gosh, season 10. So it gets worse.
And so this is, I think we can probably move on to the true, yes, that level of degeneracy.
Oh, we'll stick on the politics and we'll close this section with that.
Okay.
All right. So the other end of the politics is this was around the time of the 2016 election, I think. It had just been won. It had gone to your boy Donny T, and the show wasn't happy about it. There were anti-Trump digs regularly. There was a Trump the Musical contest, which was
probably quite slanderous, to be honest.
I wouldn't have called it even and balanced. This even infected the UK show, where someone doing a Trump impression in the what's it called?
The Snatch Game.
Thank you. The Snatch Game impersonation. It's an impersonation contest. In the UK show, someone did a Trump impression and won. And hey, it was a good impression, but you also knew...
Jane.
Is that the most relevant thing on the UK version? I don't know, man. I don't know. So... Oh, and when it came up to the 2020 election, the seasons approaching that, every episode of Drag Race ended with the queens dancing off, holding signs for registertovote.gov. They're making constant Trump attacks, and they're just really pushing you. Vote, 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 vote.
Yep.
It was absolute yes,
Full
where's
TDS.
full TDS, totally took over the show. You know, they couldn't let it go. It absolutely politicized it. They could not shut up about it. Now, we probably should have got into well, I don't know. This might it's kind of weird to a segue, because we're just talking about, you know, the 2020 election, and now we have to talk about how the show is fixed and rigged, and I wish I had a good segue for that.
Yeah, gosh.
Anyway, there's no connection between RuPaul's Drag Race being fixed and rigged and the 2020 election. Unfortunately, I can't draw any kind of parallel here.
No, and if you tried, there'd probably be a fact-checking box that would appear under the stream for no reason at all.
But this is something that people have noted, actually, at this point. Remember, this is still a reality TV show contest. It's a real contest in a way, with a prize of $100,000. People, you know, that's some serious money. Unfortunately, people become very aware of the fact that, like a lot of reality TV, it's very produced. It's probably rigged. And in some cases, you clearly see that contestants whose identities are in their favor get a hand. So in the case of needing to get a fat queen to win, Eureka and Silky are given massive boosts, very lenient judging, kept in the show far longer than they have any right to be. They are demonstrably wearing simple outfits that do not look good on them, and they cannot do the dances.
And they cannot do half the challenges.
And Eureka and Silky are not talented anyway. They are not like Latrice Royale with her wit. They are not like Darian Lake with the sort of the comedy skills. They just weren't good. But you needed to have a fat queen win, or at least reach the finale. So they got lenient judging and stayed in. And this is a fixture that started to come into the other seasons as well, isn't it?
Yeah. And one of the interesting things, so I've got a bit of words. I can speak English. So they have, like, because Ru is the master of
Sorry, BK, absolutely fortified. It's the results are fortified. Sorry, that was Gatsby coming in to contribute. How you doing, mate?
He has strong opinions on the 2020 election.
Don't say that. Susan will have us.
So they have sort of various sort of spin-off shows left, right, and centre for RuPaul, one of which is All Stars, which is essentially their opportunity to milk further money and popularity out of former contestants by bringing them back.
Why not? It's fan favourites, right?
Exactly. So I've got a bit of tinfoil and a bit of interesting-ish trivia talking about how things are fixed. So All Stars had run for 3 seasons, despite the fact that many of the fan favourites who'd come back were people of colour, and that many of the original performers in the show are people of colour. The first 3 seasons of All Stars had all featured white winners.
So that was Chad Michaels.
Alaska. Again, we named one of our chickens after her. She was a sweetheart.
She's a very sweet chicken.
She was. And Trixie, again, an absolute sweetheart of a chicken and a chaotic wreck of a drag queen. We get to season 4, and the queen who is doing the best is a very talented, very plastic surgeryed up chap who goes by the stage name of Trinity the Tuck. And Trinity the Tuck had done really well. And as it got towards the final, lots of people were starting to really...
Oh, Richard. All is forgiven, my friend.
Lots of people on social media were starting to say, it's really problematic that there hasn't been a black winner of RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars, because I'm not sure why that matters, but it does.
I mean, the show has been won many times, and the whole thing is run by RuPaul, so...
But apparently it's racist.
That crime guy, this is not going to ease it for you, mate.
Might make it worse.
Sorry.
So yeah, RuPaul and his PR team clearly paying attention to the digital chatter. What they do in the shows is they pre-film each individual person in the top 4 winning, so that they can then look at how, because they film that sort of in advance of it actually going out live. So they've got a few weeks grace to see essentially which queen is most popular on social media. And then they organically just happen to win.
I'm sure that was just a spoilers measure. You know, they film all the different victories, so the actual winner can't be spoiled. Surely that's why they do it.
Absolutely, which is the same way that, you know, various votes can jump up and down on voting machines like a trampoline. Sorry, I'm the conspiracy theorist in the family. So yes, they've filmed these endings, and RuPaul's team noticed that people are really sort of kvetching about the lack of a black winner for All Stars. But he also can't, in all fairness, not let Trinity win, given that she's actually the more popular winner and the better performer. So you have the very uncomfortable double crowning of All Stars 4, the double event of the Jack the Ripper that is RuPaul. It was clearly fake. There was no sort of shot of them walking down the runway together. It was sort of awkwardly slapped on. You can sort of see in clips from like the live show where the winners then find out who's actually won. It's a bit, lots of layers. You can sort of see that no one was quite expecting it. No one quite knew that that was what was going to happen. And it's one of the least popular series of RuPaul's Drag Race ever, and one of the most kind of scornfully regarded episodes because the fix is so obvious.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying, if you want to, just go and watch the end of All Stars 4. You can see it is clearly slapped together in the edit with a voiceover added. It is transparent that they saw the complaints coming and decided to wuss out, and they managed to wrangle an extra bit of prize money, and so they did a double victory.
My other little bit of tinfoil is something that I've noticed probably over the last 4 or 5 series, is the kind of curse of episode 7, or the fan favorite, where there'll be one drag queen who is
more. I'm sorry, mate. We saw what the chatter was. It was clearly slapped together in the edit. You know, nothing against Monet Exchange, but sorry, man.
I found the sponge gag a bit tired, but, you know, otherwise a good performer.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I saw the chatter. I know what the pressure is. Sorry.
That took me off on a side.
I mean, yes. No offense to you, mate. You know, if you like her, you like her. That's all good, man.
But yeah, so then my favorite bit of tinfoil. You'll see the kind of fan favorite. Everyone's kind of rooting for them. They all kind of love this. You know, one Queen So season 6, it was Ben de la Creme. Guys, I've watched a lot of RuPaul's Drag Race. I could go on for hours. So Ben de la Creme in season 6, Trixie Mattel in season 7, Ms. Cracker in season 10. Also, one of our sweetest chickens was named after Ms. Cracker.
Yeah.
You know,
a very wonderful chicken.
Denali in season 13. You know, all the fans are kind of rooting for them. They've got a lot of charm. They're clearly very talented performers. Excellent, exciting, doing super well. And then always on like the 7th or 8th episode, they end up going home. And then 1 or 2 All Stars later, suddenly that fan favorite crops up again. And I think it's kind of a very clever PR, technique. It's a very clever kind of marketing tactic that you're kind of getting, you're getting the kind of the fan favorites being held back so that they can then reuse them in All Stars rather than letting them go through to the final win. That's my tinfoil. So yeah,
that'll be part of the standard production. Okay, more. You've actually put something quite interesting there. More. I'm prepared to hold off on that until I can see that. But fair, if that is true, that's quite interesting. I will walk that back if that is correct.
On the other hand, it is a common thing in a lot of people who talk about Drag Race that like, oh, the Drag Race fandom is really, really racist, which I absolutely do not buy. I think there will be a minority of people saying offensive, horrendous things, but there are a minority of people on the internet who say various things. That that doesn't mean that the whole fandom is racist.
And we can't deny that the pressure was there because we'd been seeing it for, crikey, how many seasons?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've done that, and then there's just one last thing you wanted to say about, was it season 10 with Aquaria?
Yeah.
So this is relevant. I'm sorry, this is a tiny bit disordered, guys. This is a part of about the broadening appeal of Drag Race, right? The widening audience. So if you just want to take that bit now.
Yeah. So something that you start noticing as the show goes on is there have always been a number of very young contestants. Violet Chachki, who is a phenomenal burlesque artist, won the show when she was 21. Aquaria, I think, was 21 when she was on the show. Let's not show that until later.
I'll show that later.
Yeah, Aquaria was also 21 when she was on the show. She was in season 10, so the show had been running for 10 years by that point. And she talked about watching it growing up and wanting to be a drag queen growing up. That means she started watching it when she was about 11. Bearing in mind what we said about like the first few series being like essentially an extension of being in a drag bar, which is very much not a place for children. If you think it is a place for children, you need to not have kids. It's very interesting that was kind of her experience, and that's something that's coming out more and more. So I was watching the first episode of season 3 of RuPaul's Drag Race UK just before coming on here for research, and there are a couple of 19-year-olds on there who talk about growing up watching the show. So they've grown up with it. So that's, to me, like it should be a for adults only entertainment. I'm sure there'll be people who may stumble upon this stream who will disagree with me. I think you're wrong. I think it's perfectly fine to have some stuff that's just for adults, and I think drag should be one of those things, because the whole point of drag is that it is raunchy, filthy, seedy.
It's not for everyone.
No.
It's very much not for everyone. The way I'm sorry to use goths again, but the goth club is not for everyone.
It's almost like she was a goth growing up.
It is just this place that is extremely specific, and because of that, it gets to do its own thing. It's incredibly particularist, and a widening out of appeal ends up twisting the show quite a lot. Now, at this point, what we said, I called this phase Dragoon Race, because effectively the show got dragooned into supporting all these causes, being pulled about by politics and identity politics, and not really being about the drag anymore so much. It's really having to,
drag is for everyone.
It's having to serve these whims.
They even changed, by this point, I think they changed the catchphrase from "Gentlemen, start your engines, may the best woman win" to I think it's something like "Performers, start your engines, may the best drag queen win," because or even drag artists now at this point, because they don't want to inappropriately gender any contestants, which we're going to get into in a second.
Because this is the end of phase 3. Things are hurtling out of control. The show is basically surrendering on everything. But there's something special about phase 4. We're still sliding down the slippery slope, but we have picked up some incredible velocity.
I mean, as Proper Horror Show said in her initial tweet advertising this, normally Cthulhu moves slowly, but he always moves left. At this point, if you're watching Cthulhu, he's strapped on some water skis. He is just hurtling leftwards.
He's chugging monster. He's just...
all his tentacles are akimbo. I don't get that.
That crime guy wiped out about 50% of my respect for the show. British Knight, this is a very prescient comment, but I want to go back to, we're going to get on in phase 4, we're going to get onto something that Boo Jammy talked about. Now remember, we ended phase 2. Okay, we ended phase 2 talking about the issues of what happens now you've let a trans woman contestant on. What happens then? I mean, do you let a trans man on when sorry, you got that clip ready? Good. Okay, we'll get onto that in a bit.
Don't need to watch much of it. I think it gives the vibe.
I don't think I'll manage to watch much of it. Okay, so Bujami raised the issue of it. Could you have like a trans man on? I mean, I'm being careful with my language because I genuinely don't want to be insulting here, honestly. This is someone with a female bone structure who's, had some tea, so had some changes, but then presenting as a woman.
Presenting as a man.
So this is a female presenting as a man who then goes back and presents as a woman. Now, the phrase sort of advantage or doping for sports comes to mind. Like, this is a certain advantage. And as well as that, it's just kind of a mind screw. There's something, you can just call me prejudice here because this is a prejudice I've got, but I cannot get my head around someone who is so uncomfortable being seen as female that they have surgery and take testosterone and then making it their career to be seen as female. I can't get my head around that. Yeah, well, why not, James? Why not?
To be fair, I would 100% watch that, except that Buck Angel has been cancelled because he is transphobic.
Buck's too based.
As
alas.
a trans man, he is transphobic.
But that Buck knows how to work a cigar. That guy is based. Anyway, so yeah, I'm sorry, there's something, I can't get my head around that. You're so uncomfortable being seen as a woman. You have surgery and take tea, but then you make your money being seen as a woman. No, something is very messed up around that. And
rude
oh,
to Buck.
John. Oh no.
I mean, he's an interesting chap.
Anyway, I can't get my head around that. That seems quite messed up, I'm going to say. That is my prejudice. I'll put it out there. Can't get my head around it.
In which case, darling, put your headphones on. Everyone, get ready for a wild ride. 2022 came earlier than you thought.
We are going to show you now that FTM contestant, Gottmik. Have you got it?
I've got it up. You just need to find it. There
that
we go.
one?
Yep.
All right, here we go, guys. Here we go.
You do not need to watch much.
Gottmik, and this is our Glam Run filter.
Wow.
Okay, so what does it mean to be the first trans male on RuPaul's Drag Race?
The ashes of civilization.
So much to me that I'm the first trans male to compete on RuPaul's Drag Race, just because
those hands are serving real fish, I've got to say.
Like
that bone structure, baby.
I went on my favorite TV show of all.
Yeah.
In case you didn't guess, Gottmik is a trans man who earned a lot of kudos and sort of obsessive fans for being the first transsexual man to appear on RuPaul's Drag Race. I like to be old school. I use the term transsexual, even though apparently it's outdated because it implies that being trans is a medical condition.
Shocking bigotry there, wholesome waifu.
Unwholesome waifu, as I'm apparently becoming in this stream. It's rare for you to be the one telling me to be nice to people.
Yeah, so you're getting this. This is a thing where, I mean, yeah, this would be effectively, a gay dude doing drag. So what am I complaining about? Well, I just think the trans angle there, it's very uncomfortable. It's very, very uncomfortable. And you might say, well, you've had an FTM contestant, so why not? Why not just have a woman on?
Well, guess what, folks? Actually, I'm watching the first part of the RuPaul's Drag Race UK Season 3. She looks like she'd be quite fun to go and watch. There is a woman on the third bigot waifu.
Based waifu?
Yeah, there is a... brain just frazzled. Yeah, there is a woman. Just an AFAB queen. A biological woman. Just a woman. We don't need modifiers. On RuPaul's Drag Race UK season 3. And interestingly, for research, I was watching the beginning of this episode. They do the kind of meet the queens as they all come in and sort of pose and then go over to a table and start chatting with anyone who's got there before them. When she arrived, Victoria Scone, looks like she'd be fun to go and see. Not a drag queen. They literally had kind of glowing, inspiring music playing as she came in, and everyone around the table who was already there was all going, "Oh my gosh, we're making history. This is amazing. I'm so proud to be on the season that has you on."
Yeah. Like, this was a thing for a specific community, and it can't do that now. Just intellectually, how do you get your head around a woman pretending to be a woman? It's the peppermint problem squared. It's, as you know, you've got all the aspects of, does she have an advantage? Yes. And you just got this conceptual problem, but also just furthermore that drag is being taken away and just diluted, commercialized, overly politicized, and moving away from what it was. So this is what Wes is saying here. Yes, gatekeeping is necessary in all communities. Drag is subversive. It is inherently subversive. It's meant to be. And RuPaul's Drag Race was finding that it was not progressive enough, and it was getting attacked and attacked and attacked. And so it started caving up to the point that now the Drag Race show just has a woman on it. You know, where do you go from there, frankly? Where do you go from there? You are in absolute clown world at this point. And you've seen the TDS has continued, but this would be the.
Did you just pull that bloody wire out again?
Have I done it again? No, we're still okay, but I did kick the wire. Sorry about that.
Boomers.
So at the point when you have just a woman competing on Drag Race, you might say, oh, this is just, they're 16 seasons in. They need to shake it up a bit. Yeah, there's a bit of that, but there's also just like,
they've given up.
They've given up. They've stopped fighting. Any battle that comes for them, they give in. And this idea that they're subversive just ends up going because drag in its actual form, before you get postmodern over it, which is only ever a means to an end to make it serve your cause, drag is inherently subversive and it goes for what's in power. We've been to numerous drag shows and the performers there, they keep it very much in the spirit and they target the prevailing orthodoxy, whatever it is. Back in the early days of RuPaul, they were having a go at identity politics. They would have found it ridiculous. The idea that a woman would be on Drag Race would be a joke. It would be something they satirize.
And I'm not saying that she's not a brilliant performer, because she looks like she, as I said repeatedly and incoherently,
yeah, of course.
She looks like she'd be a great fun, show host or a comedian to go and see. But it's just interesting that, this thing that was a niche, weird little community for gay men now can't be just for gay men.
Yeah. And all the things that you would think a subversive show would have a go at, it can't, because it'll be attacked. Now Trump's not in office. Are they doing Biden jokes? No.
Hell no.
Are they having a go at the ridiculousness of, of the pronouns and neogenders, the fact that you've got a woman on Drag Race? No, of course they're not. They don't go near that. In fact, you get exactly as you would expect. You get all the new queens, they get subject to the old Twitter necromancy. There's always a story every new season of people going back through the new queen's old tweets and putting those poor queens through the ringer. It's brutal. They get checked for orthodoxy. And the idea that drag would have to stand by some current orthodoxy is just absolutely anathema to the art that is meant to be subversive.
I'm going to make Chloe now watch a clip of what they do instead of being subversive. You only have to watch about 30 seconds. I want you to react live.
Okay.
This is not family friendly. If you're watching this stream with your children, shame on you. But literally other people around the country do watch Drag Race with their children. And this is why they shouldn't.
Yeah, well, bear in mind that children see this.
And this is on the BBC.
Oh no.
The most advice I ever received growing up was from my nan. You know, people always say there's such a huge age gap between the older and the younger generation. And she's right. But me and my nan found that that gap was what really brought us together. It was a real deep, wholesome connection.
Oh no.
We both had. Wow.
I don't think I even want to know what was blanked there. Do you want to stick in for another joke?
Jeez, Louise.
Should we go for one more?
I mean, it was all until she. And then I'd go, Granddad, bring the hose!
Well, thank you for that. That was special. I nearly closed the stream instinctively.
That is on the BBC.
That is on the BBC. Okay. Like I said, you can't be subversive on that show, so the only thing you can do is just be filthy, just pure filthy. And as I think we've probably all heard a fair few times, if you're not a rebel if you're pushing at an open door. If you can say that on the BBC, you're not really being subversive, are you? They've been absolutely brought to heel. They can't make the jokes that they would make, so they're stuck just doing that. And on to the issue, since we did mention children watch this.
Yeah, this is the thing. It goes from, for me at this point, we go from, this is a show that was once great, once very subversive, once a lot of fun, very adult, very filthy, very, very much in the spirit of drag. And we're kind of laughing at its demise, and that's quite light and quite entertaining. It gets a little bit more serious at this point, because as drag has got more popular, it's got a wider audience of wine aunts and mums who then bring their kids to drag shows. I think we'll actually start with this one.
This one?
Just the opening 30 seconds or so.
All right.
Which articulates the problem with these two again. They're loud. Step away from your speakers.
All right.
Kid. My assistant was like, you know, she talks about some pretty rough stuff. And this girl goes, oh, she'll be fine. She's seen Drag Race. Meanwhile, I'm out here talking about dead people. I'm Trixie Mattel.
And I'm Katya.
And we are two queens who like to watch.
And today we're watching
I think if she's finished talking about bringing the kid to the show.
Series.
Yeah, she's talked about bringing the kid to the show there. That's it. And, well, one of the other fallouts from this is that, of course, as you've seen, well, I told you we're on a slippery slope, folks.
That's it. There you go. Child.
So what's the result of this? This is censored, so you're okay, guys. That is Violet Chachki, the adult, with a decidedly non-adult child drag queen called Lactatia, who is what, 8 or 9?
10, I think.
10. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm such a prude. We're gonna, and yeah, there is nothing under that censored box. So yeah, RuPaul's Drag Race ends up fueling that, and it's quite uncomfortable, really. Again, I like drag. I've been to drag shows. I had a good time. It was a decidedly niche event for a decidedly niche community, and it was firmly not open to children. Firmly closed off to children.
So I do find it quite interesting and alarming, honestly, because you've kind of got this weird thing where the show is massively expanded in popularity. In many ways, it's no longer subversive, but it's still definitely adult entertainment. A lot of these people get their start in, doing those kind of clubs, those sort of underground, increasingly less underground shows, but they're still in adult clubs. And also, one of the things that the show talks about a lot is just how much sort of drug and alcohol misuse, sort of substance misuse there is in the drag community. There's a lot of very promiscuous sex. I'm not saying necessarily that drag queens are all child abusers or abusing children. Please don't sue me.
We are not saying that.
However, it's not child appropriate. And you're getting a lot of these people talking about how difficult it is in many ways to live the kind of drag lifestyle. A lot of even like the post after they've been on RuPaul, a lot of the sort of stars have OnlyFans accounts, and that's sort of the tip of the iceberg. There's a kind of semi-acknowledged, semi-unacknowledged sort of sex work involved in a lot of drag. Not all, a lot of, probably not for most, but there is that undercurrent. And, a lot of them complain, oh, well, my boyfriend's mum was really worried when he heard that I was a drag queen. I'm like, yeah, to be fair, why wouldn't you be worried?
Yeah, we have seen that multiple times on the show. And this was quite interesting. Like one of the things that was good about the show is they did talk about like the amounts of addiction and alcohol abuse and hard times that drag queen performers had. Like they did not make it I want to say they didn't make it glamorous when they're going on a catwalk, but it was one of the most excellent elements of the show is they didn't hide the sort of edges of that world. But then they end up having weird conversations where people say it's kind of hard to date as a drag queen. Like, exactly that thing of, my boyfriend told his parents I was a drag queen, told his friends he was dating a drag queen, and they just they're very, very off about that. It's like, well, you've just shown us 7 seasons talking us about rampant abuse, drug addiction, alcoholism in the community, horrible violent experiences. Like, yeah, it sounds pretty rough, man. Sounds like you're taking a bit of a risk there, bro. So, and then you talked on the OnlyFans. We might as well slip it in here because this is something that we couldn't easily fit in. But one of the other scandals that kind of tarnished the show is details of the contract that the stars are on got leaked, which was quite special.
Oh yeah. So we could just play the clip. I'm not sure. Obviously, I won't be able to hear it, so you'll have to just listen through.
Yeah, I don't think we'll go into it very much because we've gone over 90 minutes. So I didn't want it to go too loud. But remember, this was the progressive show. This was the anti-Trump show. This was the stand up for human rights. This is the gays have been oppressed show.
Supporting
right?
the gays.
Support the gays. Well, the Drag Race contract came out, and you can watch an excellent video by a fun little cutie by the name of Bussy Queen.
Scrumptious twink, as Proper Horror Show likes to say.
Scrumptious, absolutely rinsable. Who did a very in-depth episode on the contracts, and effectively the stars are on really harsh contracts, absolutely awful. They can be pulled back at a moment's notice. Gatsby does not approve of the contracts, you might have heard. They get a very low fee for their appearances. Their identity, the IP of their drag persona is effectively owned by World of Wonder Productions. They can be, as I said, called back at any minute.
For up to, essentially, it's for any time in the sort of 5 years after you've appeared on in a series, you can be called back at any time. And that means that even if you only appear in sort of 1 or 2, like one episode as a cameo, then you're on the hook for another 4 years and on the hook for another 4 years, something along those lines. And they get paid, it's a sort of slowly increasing amount in line with when they first appeared. But they get paid maybe sort of $400 or $500 per episode at this point. And given that RuPaul is paid, tens of thousands of dollars per episode, that's quite shoddy. And also given the amount of money that a lot of them will pay for their costumes. They're, you know, it's gone far beyond the days when, you know, drag queens would show up with, you know, sort of something they'd made themselves or something they'd stolen from their grandma. You know, it's sort of elaborate sort of costumes, sort of imply
Gatsby.
Were you at the Capitol?
Can you scoop him?
No.
He is not to be scooped. Sorry.
You know, so they're paying sort of tens of thousands of dollars for costumes to appear on the show when they're only getting paid $500 per episode. It's kind of no wonder some of them go into sex work.
They genuinely do take out massive loans to get the costumes professionally made. Like, this is not the down-to-earth, above the pub drag. Above the pub is where drag should be.
There was a moderate amount of controversy for season 2 of the UK Drag Race when a contestant who'd been out of work because of COVID and had been sort of sent home mid-season because of COVID when it all got shut down. He'd sold all the costumes that he'd got when he was first appearing on the show in order to pay his rent. So when he was then called back to the show, slightly unexpectedly, he basically went to H&M and various charity shops to get some stuff together that he could fashion into what I think were actually pretty good costumes. And RuPaul went on a bit of a rant when he sort of said on the runway, you know, oh yes, no, this is from H&M. RuPaul goes, I don't want to see any effing H&M. This is Drag Race. So it's basically come full circle from let's mock America's Next Top Model to let's make America's Next Top Model look understated and calm.
Absolutely, yeah. The joke ended. By the way, this is a video if you want to see the details on the contract. It's quite interesting and it's quite damning. Yeah, so we go from the show that is meant to be subversive, being absolutely kettled in what it can say. It's meant to be standing up and supporting the culture, and it just
destroyed it.
It gets the stars on really exploitative contracts. I mean, you know, I'm pretty bottom right quadrant on certain compasses, and I would say that's a pretty harsh contract. BK, I know you won't agree. You'll be like, nah, based.
It's one of the things as well is it's sort of the way that kids or very young gay boys are getting swept up into drag culture at 5
and thinking this is what being gay is.
Yes, thinking this is what being gay is, and to the point that this episode that I started watching, as I said, a couple of the contestants are 19. A lot of the drag queens, you know, that you see on the show will have had work done, so they'll have had, you know, some fillers and injections and stuff. That goes for these two 19-year-olds. One of them had sort of fillers. I think he'd even had sort of surgery done on his jaw to give him a more feminine appearance. And he's 19, and this was for his drag. It's really #problematic, to be honest. You know, that this 19-year-old is getting sort of injectables and, you know, potentially sort of surgical interventions so that he can look better in makeup. And he looks like a flipping alien, to be honest. You know, it's really warping something that used to be very different. It's sort of plasticizing it and commercializing it.
And moving it from the audience that it was for into this, you know, an audience largely of straight women, to be honest.
Yeah, well, because they're the ones that, you know, will buy stuff.
Yeah. And yeah, so as we said, like the parody of America's Top Model is not there anymore. You know, the joke shilling, the joke is gone. This is just shilling. This is just pure commercialism. So we've got that element so it's not subversive. It's, you know, it's exploiting the artists. And as for one final, because, you know, we haven't been very spicy on this stream. As for the issue of sort of raising history of gay oppression and standing up for the gays, well, do you think RuPaul's Drag Race can do that now? Let's see what happened when on a recent series, Jeff Goldblum was on.
Daddy.
Yes. And one of the contestants decided, you know, to kind of stick it to Donnie T, that she would do Hello Gatsby. Yes, Gatsby. That she would do drag in a hijab with the American flag. I believe she's of Persian background, isn't she?
Yes, although she was born and grew up in Canada.
Yes. So yeah, she born and grew up in Canada, but clearly identifies a lot with Persia. Moving on.
Hashtag
And
no comment.
Jeff Goldblum asks a kind of important question. I'm going to play it and hope I don't get banned.
Are you religious, may I ask?
I'm not. And to be honest, this outfit really represents the importance that visibility for people of religious minorities need to have in this country.
Isn't this an interesting wrinkle, though? Is there something in that religion that is anti-homosexuality and anti-woman? How does that complicate the issue? I'm just raising...
Can you see everyone absolutely shitting bricks? Look at those faces. Those are people who are deciding whether they should be stunning and brave or immediately jump over the desk and kick Jeff Goldblum's head in. What do you reckon? What do you reckon, guys?
No, thinking out loud and maybe being stupid, but
No.
what do you think?
I think, drag has always shaken the tree.
Spoilers, guys. Drag did not shake the tree in that instance. They immediately bent the knee, as you would expect at this point. Jeff Goldblum was condemned. This was a story going round last year. Did we just raise a kind of complication that actually this group you're kind of lauding? The support is not universal, as married pair of gents going around Birmingham's gay village last weekend found out. It's a complex issue here. Jeff Goldblum asks a very important question, which you'd kind of think maybe would get talked about.
Maybe
it got shut the heck down. They apologized, and the pillorying of
Jeff the Fly Goldblum
continued. Yep, you cannot. Absolutely shut down. So, again, this is a thing. Like, at this point, the show isn't going to ask tough questions and I'm not saying it has to come out and just like absolutely do a condemnation, but the point of, maybe you can ask a question about that, but they didn't. They shut it down. So this is, at this point, RuPaul's Drag Race kind of neutered and inverted on all fronts. It's not satire. It's not for gay men anymore. It's like, it's not really drag at the point, because they've lost every battle and they've let women in, and they're they're having to make sure that identity politics is satisfied when they give the winners. They can't be subversive. They have to serve a certain message, and they can't really raise issues of gay equality if they get a bit too spicy. The show has been completely defeated in its purpose, and
it's very sad. That was my Trump impression.
It's a shadow of its former self, but is a very rich shadow of its former self. Like, it is rolling in Netflix cash right now.
I had a thought that I felt was quite interesting, but I've forgotten it.
Oh no, this happens in stream. I think I probably made the same points about 4 times in a row there.
I mean, it makes for great radio, doesn't it? I was going to say a thing. Never mind. No.
Give it a go?
No, it's absolutely gone. It's a real shame to see something that, you would have thought would be, or that used to be a very interesting little niche, get absolutely trampled over.
It's just sort of, I'd say, a pattern that is reminiscent and something you see in many other places. Like, you've seen it in Star Wars, you've seen it in Star Trek. I don't know why I'm going for those examples, but the idea of your niche little thing, if you try and push a message, if you're trying to be progressive, you will very swiftly find you aren't progressive enough. This thing that was meant to, hello Gatsby, this thing that was meant to question the official narrative, Gatsby, ends up being brought to heel and becoming a complete servant of that narrative. That, Call of Duty as well. What else have you guys seen that in? There was an attempt to scoop Gatsby and it completely failed. He's got a lot of emotions right now.
He just feels very strongly about Drag Race, because, he has his own dreams.
Yeah, I mean, I could name other communities. I'm not going to, but yeah.
Oh, I've remembered.
What was your point?
What I was going to say.
Go on.
Was the whole thing of like it's gone from this sort of niche sort of underground thing to the point where probably many of you will have, for your sins, seen an advert for a flip phone recently.
Oh no.
Starring Todrick Hall. I'm not going to make Chloe watch it. I think she'd kill me. It's basically he did one song about 4 years ago that was pretty catchy, and he's now milked it as a Christmas cover. He's redone it for something else, and he's now rewritten it again for a new Samsung phone, which kind of, I suppose, brings me on to my final point, and then we should really wrap this up, I guess, is that you've probably noticed every brand anywhere wanting to make a splash and make a point about how cool and hip and down with the kids they are has a drag queen in their advert now. It's, if anything signals that Drag Race is dead and Drag Race killed drag, it's that, I'd say.
I was going to try and get a meme. I'm not going to go for it. I'll never find it in time. But a fun meme questioning why the shows just started to wait until now to start showing their support. Just really interesting why corporations weren't doing this in the 90s. Just really interesting.
I wouldn't have minded a bit of gay solidarity about 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Not that I would have understood it that way.
So whether it's Star Wars, Star Trek, your favorite intellectual property, whether it is veganism, we've seen this happen in the vegan community.
Or whether it's Nazi imagery being removed from your favorite computer game.
No, Claire, don't say that word.
Sorry, mid-century Germans.
Mid-century Germans with their friendship windmills. Come on. Yes, gatekeeping. You will never be progressive enough. You will be hollowed out to make room for a new agenda, and you will be made to serve it, and you will be damned for not serving it 10 years ago.
Serving subversive fish, mama.
You'll find out that you've got a very problematic history that you need to make amends for, even if you're a gay men's drag show raising issues of equality and LGBT history. You will suddenly find out you're the bad guys. I think that is everything I wanted to say on the downfall of RuPaul's Drag Race. I will get up the screen again because I was really pleased with it. If I can find the darn thing. That one.
And now you should like, comment, subscribe.
Yes.
Work that subscribe button. Work it, mama. Yes, queen. Serve liking realness.
Oh
feed that algorithm. Boots to the one way, etc.
Yeah. We're going to serve some subscription fish realness or whatever we're doing at the moment.
As a vegan, I would like to say it would be subscription tofush.
Yeah, I know people. We've tagged this properly, so I wonder if we got quite a few genuine fans who are fresh off RuPaul's Drag Race UK season 3 coming on and being like, "What the hell is this? Why are they such a bunch of charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talents?" Eh?
Where's I'm very sorry. The shill video needs to happen.
All right, that crime guy. You make a very good point. Okay, hang on.
Wes,
I'm going to find it for you.
As Wholesome Waifu will probably not appear on a stream for a while.
Yeah, come on, do it for Wholesome Waifu.
I was going to say like it because you won't see me for a while, but
All right, here we go, guys. If me pimping out drag culture didn't get you subscribing, then hopefully this will do. This is a little instructional I've done for the Halloween season. It's coming, that crime guy, it's coming up. There's little instructional, guys. There's a like button, a subscribe button. This video will sort of help you know what to do with them. haven't seen this version before. All right, peace out, guys. And remember, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else?
Can I get an amen?
Can I get a subscribe? All right. Cheese beeps. Or rather, as I should actually say. Thanks, y'all. Cheese.